Hello, I'm back. Today I'm going to very quickly talk about Porphyria's lover. People choose to forget this one because it's so long, but actually there's so much you can say about it. So I'm going to quickly whiz through the meaning, the structure, and some key quotes for you to understand. So, it's written by Robert Browning. His name does come up in the anthology later on with Sonnet 29, but I'll talk about that later. So it is about a man that kills his lover and spends the rest of the night with her dead body. Grim. Okay, so the meaning of it is pretty dark, but there's so much you can do with this poem. There's so much you can say about it. The title itself is often overlooked, and you can even talk about that because there's so much, again, you can say about it. So it was originally just called Porphyria, and then he changed it 30 years after publishing it to Porphyria's Lover. So the poem isn't actually about Porphyria per se, it's more about the lover, the man, the speaker. Please remember that Browning is not the speaker, he's the author. The speaker is the character that is created. So Browning is not the psychopath, the speaker, the persona is a psychopath, Porphyria's lover. And the poem deals with constrictions of gender, the patriarchy, and the frustration for Porphyria's lover in the fact that Porphyria is dominant and in control. So that's the meaning of the poem. Then I'm going to talk to you about structure. Okay, so it's written in a continuous form and it's called a dramatic monologue. AKA, as I said before, because so many people make the mistake, it is not Browning talking, it is a character. And it is not separated into stanzas. That's often classic of a dramatic monologue, but the rhyme scheme works in a 5-line section. Now, I always say pronounce this word wrong. Cinquains, cinquain. Okay, that's just 5 lines, and the last line rhymes, kind of thing. And then there's lots of enjambment in there as well. So this kind of neat and ordered structure in amid the chaos and the enjambment, you could argue reflects the state of the persona's mind, which I think is an awesome thing to talk about, like the chaos and the calm. Great. The oxymoron, I suppose you could use it as, okay? Oh, and quickly zooming into the next part, the quotations, okay? So the poem begins with pathetic fallacy, which you can talk about how the pathetic fallacy forebows the end of the poem. Excellent use of devices there as well. And then in that opening of pathetic fallacy, you've got the personification. So we've got the sullen wind was soon awake. It sets that dark, ominous tone, and the personification of the wind. Even the wind's angry, so it kind of reflects the lover's anger and frustration with the situation going on, even though it's not even angry to start with. You've got that foreboding there. The next line I'm going to talk about is glided in Porphyria. Now that verb glided makes her seem angelic. It is almost like he worships her. And that is contrasted with the end line of God has not said a word. So Porphyria glided in. He worships her with the glide in. And at the end, God has not said a word. It's almost like he then becomes the worshipped. So it's this idea of worship and control. After that glided in Porphyria, it says that she kneeled and made the cheerless grate blaze up. So the idea of her kneeling again relates to this idea of worship, and equally making it blaze up. That has connotations of heat and passion and shows that relationship, that kind of lustrous bond, if you like. It's quite sexual. Then the other line I want to talk to you about is 3 times her little throat, okay? So the lover strangles Porphyria with her own hair, and that adjective little demonstrates the vulnerability of her character and the horror of the fact that he's used her hair as the murder weapon. It's pretty sick, okay? And then finally, I've repeated this line before, and yet God has not said a word. The fact that the poem ends with that line demonstrates the narcissistic sort of an arrogant perception this character has of himself, that he has now become God. So he's managed to take control back. He is in charge. He is God. Okay. It is a long poem, but there's so much you could say about it. Definitely recommend learning it. Hope it helps.